Welcome to the Ain't the Beer Cold podcast. My name is Brandon. This is Sports Talk with a Baltimore bias. Today we'll start out looking at the Orioles. It's that time of year. We're flipping the show. Orioles come first now. So we're going to talk a little bit about Tomoyuki Sugano, who I think has the widest range of variable outcomes for the Orioles. Spend some time talking about him. Talk a little bit about some comments made by David Rubenstein this week. Uh, Take a moment to talk about a little TikTok controversy that I had this week, talking about Cooper DeJean. When we get to NFL news, we'll start out with Cooper DeJean and then talk a little bit about the Ravens wish list. Like, what are the Ravens looking to do this offseason? Their name seems to come up every time a player is mentioned to be on the move. Here, what about the Ravens? What about the Ravens? What about the Ravens? Well, that's what we'll talk about. So as of right now, the Baltimore Orioles have not gone out and made that splash in the offseason that we all expected, going out to get an ace, re-signing Corbin Burns, doing something of that nature. The Orioles just haven't done it. Instead, they've signed two veterans, Charlie Morton, who hopefully has another decent year like he had last year, and Tomoyuki Sugano from the NPB in Japan. Now, this is a guy that I am very excited about. He shows up at pitchers and catchers reporting to spring training. He shows up, introduces himself. I'm Tomo, and says, "Let's go win a world championship." This is a guy that's coming. He's coming to the United States to prove that he can play with the world's best players. He was an all-time great in Japan, 2.4 career ERA guy, two-time MVP, two-time Sawamura Award winner, which is the Japanese Cy Young. He has had an illustrious career in Japan and now wants to come and win in the United States. And he showed up with that attitude on day one, and I love it. I think he, at his age, being 35, turning 36 this season, he does have the widest range of outcomes. He's not his prime anymore, but last year was one of his best seasons ever in the Japanese league. Let me read you the stat line here: 1.67 ERA, 16 walks, 111 Ks, 156 innings pitched. That is nearly one walk every 10 innings. I mean, this guy is known for his control. So it's going to be interesting to see how his stuff plays in the major leagues. Anytime you step up in difficulty, sometimes there's people that just can't make that step. So maybe his pitching style isn't suited for Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball is really about the swing and miss and strikeout right now. But this is a guy that throws strikes, a guy that they say throws six pitches really well. So he's got a big mix. And you know, hopefully, assuming he's able to have control by keeping the ball in the zone, isn't going to walk anybody. I mean, this is a guy that really seems like he has a lot of upside and has had a ton of success over his career. And I mean, I would assume as a new pitcher to the league, the pitcher would have the advantage in those first matchups. So the first time we're going up against the Yankees and he's seeing Judge and Giancarlo Stanton and those guys, I feel like the pitcher early on should have the advantage in that. These guys have never had to face him before. So I really like the upside on Tomoyuki Sugano. Now, if I look at the projections from some different baseball websites, one projection's really low on him. They say Sugano projects at a 4.88 ERA, 91 innings pitched, about eight strikeouts per 9 innings, and about 3.5 walks per 9 innings. And they're giving him a WAR of zero point 0.5. So wins above replacement, a half a game. For me, that seems crazy, particularly the walk number. Like, that is what's so impressive about his stat line from Japan, is that he did not walk anybody, 16 walks in 160 innings. And now they've got him at almost 3.5 walks per every 9 innings. That's, essentially 3.5x what he did last year. That would be odd to me to see him come over and not have the control that he had in his Japanese league days. So, let's look at another projection that has him at a 3.52 ERA, throwing 116 innings pitched, 83 strikeouts, 21 walks, and 2.2 WAR. This honestly sounds a little more realistic with the strikeouts, walks, innings kind of in that range. The 3.52 ERA is generous. Like I would be very happy if Sugano is at the back end of the Orioles rotation in the 4 or 5 spot and he keeps his ERA under 4. If we get that from him on a 1 year, $13 million deal, this is a steal. I mean, Sugano should be in the rotation throughout the year. He should be taking that ball every fifth day, or maybe they make it six. I know the Japanese league they go on a 6 man rotation, so maybe they spell him occasionally with his age and his experience in the Japanese baseball league. But I really feel like Sugano has a ton of upside, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he brings to the Orioles. He's kind of when you think about it, baseball as a global game, he is a legend. I mean, he made appearances in the World Baseball Classic. Just a really exciting player to bring in. Not the guy that we all want because we're all looking for that major league guy, but we're bringing in a guy from Japan that has a lot of possible upside and that I'm very excited to see how he performs in Baltimore. All right. Secondly, let's talk about David Rubenstein for just a moment. The Orioles owner has made more comments about the financial situation of the Orioles team. I mentioned some comments he made at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and these comments sound very similar. Previously, he had said, I don't think there's anybody that's not playing for us because of money, meaning they could have signed anybody. They didn't pull out because it was too much money or whatever. They just haven't found the right deal that they wanted to make. And he said, quote, we don't have any financial constraints. That's the new quote. We don't have any financial constraints. He says the team's in good financial shape, that they're willing and able to add on salary if it's going to make them a better team. Obviously, they're not just going out there and, you know, flinging money everywhere. He has previously remarked that it would be nice if there was a salary cap to make things more competitive between teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees and teams like the Orioles. He's alluded to that inequity and mentioned a salary cap. Obviously, I don't think that's ever going to happen in baseball or not anytime soon. But I think what I am hearing from David Rubenstein is we have money to spend. We're willing to spend more money. We'll never outspend the Yankees or the Dodgers, so we can't try to do it that way. But if we need to add, salary to if we need to add to the roster, we've got money to do that. So that's an optimistic thing. It's different than I feel like Angelos was just trying to squeeze every penny out of the organization, while David Rubenstein is trying to put as much into it as he needs to for the Orioles to be successful. So I think that's an encouraging sign. Some people are down on Rubenstein after 2 years. I just remind you that the Orioles payroll has gone up almost 50% from like 100 million to close to 150 million. And I know it's not the guys you wanted. It's Charlie Morton, it's Tomoyuki Sugano, it's Tyler O'Neill. We did let Santander walk, Corbin Burns walked, but those guys walked and got over $300 million other places. So um, I I love what he's doing. He's adding money. He's giving Mike Elias the green light to go get what he needs, and I think the Orioles are building something that will last a long time. Before we get to football, Ain't the Beer Cold Pod recommends Earth Wellness. The True Strain edibles come in 10 varieties. With a potent but gentle 10 milligram dose, you can get the preferred effects for any occasion. Right now, I'm enjoying the green crack. With the cold weather, I've been stuck inside a lot. These give me the euphoric effects that I'm looking for without all the tiredness or laziness. So get yourself some Earth Wellness and use the code ATBC for 25% off your order. So this week on the Ain't the Beer Cold TikTok page, there's been some controversy surrounding Cooper DeJean. So we all know that Cooper DeJean is the corner for the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a pick six in the Super Bowl, had a terrific rookie season, and is a terrific player. I at no time have taken anything away from Cooper DeJean. He is exceptional. He was one of the guys on the short list that I hope the Ravens might bring in. We're really happy with Nate Wiggins, but uh, Cooper DeJean was one of the guys that I had hoped might become a Raven. So anyway, this week, what I saw on social media was a lot of posts about, Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. back when he did, and now Cooper DeJean breaks the color barrier in 2025. And I get that they're fun. I get that they're jokes. I admitted they were jokes. Somehow people like went at me like it's a joke. And I said, like, the first thing I said in there was, I know people are just joking around with these. But ultimately, I did say that some of those posts were disgusting. Like, I think that whenever we are making jokes like that, it toes a line, particularly right now um, in our current culture. You know what I mean by that? Like, I'm not somebody who thinks everything has to be politically correct. I'm not like this PC policeman or whatever, or PC principal on South Park or something. I'm not walking around making sure everybody uses the right terminology for this or that or whatever. I'm a teacher, and I even sometimes don't use person first vocabulary, students with disabilities instead of, whatever. So, um, but the reason that the Cooper DeJean thing kind of sits a little sour right now is just the world that we're living in. And I, I hesitate to say this. So I'm not trying to start some kind of controversy with, the political right or whatever, but it has become like one of the major moves of the political right to kind of get white people to look across and say that it is either the black or the brown person that's kind of stealing their opportunity. If you look, you say, hey, what are the two biggest initiatives that are happening right now from the Republican Party? What were the campaign promises that they said they would make? Immigration, because brown people are stealing your opportunities, and DEI, because people are getting those jobs because they're black or whatever. And I think in this culture where we're starting to have what feels a lot like fewer opportunities, what seems a lot like a very like a dwindling middle class, a shrinking window of society that kind of gets to live off the benefits of this great country. It's just I don't want to feed into that narrative of saying black and brown people are stealing opportunities from white people. And what Jackie Robinson did in overcoming the racism that he had to overcome to break the color barrier, that achievement, like that's the type of stuff that needs to be treated with a little bit of uh like respect, with a little like high esteem. It's not something to be belittled or mocked or made fun of. When we talk about something like Black History Month, what should we do with Black History Month? We should observe things like Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in baseball and do that with dignity and support, not mock it and compare this white corner who has no barriers in front of him to being a cornerback. He's just white, and most cornerbacks are predominantly black. I feel like comparing them, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And where over the many years, I would probably say, hey, I would err on the side of like, we don't need to be PC. It's fine. He's just joking. Now I might err on the side of like, let's not encourage the Nazis. Like let's not encourage the people out here with literal, swastikas marching up and down streets, like trying to start problems. And if you go through those comments in the TikTok, you're gonna see about 500 comments that are like, it's a joke, bro, or just somebody like personally attacking me, which is fine. I think that's hilarious when that happens. So good for you guys. Um, or you're going to see about 20 to 50 comments in there where people are like, but actually, what Cooper DeJean did is kind of on par with what Jackie. Like, there's people out there that are truly being encouraged by these narratives to say, like, white people are taking back their predominance. And that becomes a very dangerous narrative, and I'm pushing back on that. I don't think we should joke and say that what Cooper DeJean is doing is similar to what Jackie Robinson did. I think it's fine to joke about him being the only white corner or whatever. I mean, that's not a big deal. But also, What Jackie Robinson did is special. I think it has to have like some sanctity to it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old fashioned on that or something. Maybe I'm getting old. But then finally, let's take a look here at the Ravens' upcoming offseason, a little bit of what they might be looking out for. Um, I've heard so many names that are on the move this year. Every name that comes up, there's Baltimore Ravens fans that are posting pictures of that player in the Ravens jersey. Everything from Tyreek Hill to Devonta Adams, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, Miles Garrett, Cooper Kupp, Jair Alexander. You're talking about, Pro Bowl, all pro caliber players, and they're just like, yes, go get all of them, Baltimore. Get all those players. They would be a perfect fit for Baltimore. Yeah, everybody would be a perfect fit for Baltimore because it's a team that's ready to win a Super Bowl already. So any piece like that puts them over the top. But let's actually talk about what the Ravens need and what they're going to be able to do. Currently, they just have like $6 million in cap space. They're not going to be able to go out and sign any of those guys. So any move that comes via a trade or something is going to have to happen with a lot of doctoring the books, adding some money to a contract, restructuring a contract, waiving a guy, whatever. Here are the guys that they need to replace or upgrade. This is their wish list in my mind. So the number one concern for me is really maybe tied here between Ronnie Stanley, who was the 11th best left tackle in football last year based on like the PFF gradings and all that kind of stuff. He's projected to make $41 million over 2 years. So that's $20 million a year at left tackle. That's a lot of money. I don't know if the Ravens have it. I don't know if there's a better option out there or a similar option or somebody they can get similar production from. Maybe that's where they go in the first round with a tackle. I don't know. I've heard people say slide Roger Rosengarten over to left tackle. He was a terrific right tackle, and I feel like that's what he's supposed to be. So I would actually just love to see them replace the left tackle. Number two, Pat Ricard. They just need to bring him back. Whatever it costs, they got to work that out. He's more valuable to the Ravens than he is to any other team. I don't understand why any other team would pay more than what the Ravens are paying. He plays a very specific role in this offense, and there's no way to replace him, and there's nobody else that really could utilize him in the way the Ravens do. So this is just an obvious fit. That needs to happen. And that kind of brings up questions around the tight end group because Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and Charlie Kohler all have 1 year left. After the end of the playoffs, people are saying maybe it's time to move on from Mark Andrews. He's got 1 year left. He could be cut or traded. I don't see that happening. I feel like Mark Andrews is um, maybe he doesn't put up the numbers statistically that some people wanted to see, but that's just because the Ravens have so many mouths to feed now. He still was top five in touchdowns in the NFL. He's still Lamar's go-to guy um, in tight situations or in important situations. So I think you got to stick with Mark Andrews. He's our guy. Um, Maybe there's an extension that they could do to make some money there, but or free up some money. But anyway, Pat Ricard and the tight ends, and then the last, I'm gonna say three more here. First of all, Brandon Stevens, he's out. Don't worry about coming back. We're good. Have fun. Best wishes in your next journey. So we need a corner. TJ Tampa, drafted last year, sneaky. Uh, Pick to kind of step into that role. He could be really good. Brees Hall, his college teammate, when the Ravens drafted him in the fourth round, Brees Hall said he was the steal of the draft. He was projected in first and second round in a lot of mock drafts. Ravens got him in the fourth round. TJ Tampa, that's a name to look out for. That's a guy I'm hoping steps into a big role like that. Maybe he plays higher on the depth chart, third, fourth, whatever. Safety, we've got to replace. Marcus Williams was just awful. And our Darius Washington came in and played absolutely exceptional football. Like it's insane how well and how what a big change our Darius Washington brought to the football team after they could trust him to play that position, where Marcus Williams was just giving up way too much, like big plays, and we just it wasn't sustainable. So the switch to our Darius Washington was awesome. but I think they've got to go with a little more capable safety that gives Kyle Hamilton more freedom. Like Kyle Hamilton had to play the deep safety spot more often than not with our Darius Washington. So I think they get somebody that adds a little more flexibility at that position. And then finally, they need a third wide receiver. For the last 2 years, it's been Nelson Aguilar. I love Nelly. I think he's been great in Baltimore. I think he had such a negative perception at the beginning of his career because of some drops, and he has just been so clutch for the Ravens. Big games, big opportunities. He's kind of been that veteran presence. A guy that I saw linked to the Ravens today that I said, maybe that works is Mike Washington. We just don't have one of those guys. We don't have a big go up and get it type receiver. Mike Washington makes sense unless Devontae Walker can become that. So those are the things that I see missing from the Ravens right now. So quick summary: we need a tackle, a corner, a safety, and a wide receiver three. We also need to lock down Patrick Ricard. I think if we do that, we're in a great shape to make another run next year. And we'll just see how this works out. I'm not going to sit here and you're not going to get speculation every episode about what the Ravens will or won't do in free agency. I'm just not that guy that speculates like that. If something truly stands out and makes sense, we'll bring it up, but that's it. So anyway, that does it for us today on the Ain't the Beer Cold Pod. Thanks for listening. Make sure to go around social media, TikTok, YouTube, uh, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Follow me there. Even thinking about getting a Discord rolling for maybe some watch parties for live O's games. So trying to build this thing up, build this thing out. So thanks for listening and stick around with us. Have a good day.